For this week, we have our election special, bringing you information to help vote for our new ASUCD senators. So, as a reminder, also, we are still giving out Temple Coffee gift cards from our sponsor, Temple Coffee. Comment theme for this week is, if you could have coffee from anywhere in the world, where would it be? So, our favorite comment will win a $5 gift card to Temple Coffee. Happy commenting. So now, on to our first slate. So, I'm Sabrina Sanchez, and I'll be talking about the base slate with Sam Chang from ASUCD and Alyssa Vandenberg from the California Aggie. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, the candidates running under base slate is Daniel Nagy, Jose Antonio V. Meneses, and Anastasia Retke. So, Daniel Nagy from base slate will be improving housing situations for Davis students, working with the city designing new affordable space that won't interfere with campus life, trying to make the pantry more accessible, accepting EBT on campus, advocating for more resources to help students navigate their mental health, and increase student awareness about potential raising of tuition fees to a 5%. Anastasia Retke will improve the administration visibility with student relations, form a new study abroad student program, promote sexual assault prevention through inter-Greek life. Jose Meneses will establish legal undergrad clinic, bring domestic violence awareness and prevention programs to campus, work to increase the Asian and Pacific Islander retention rates. So now that we've heard about the platforms, what do you all think about them?
I honestly think that these people, I know them personally, just as a disclaimer, but they worked with current senators to make sure that these were realistic platforms and that they affected ASUCD. I think it was a really good choice, and it's a really good intersection of different platforms that work together.
Okay, cool. And what do you think?
I think that one person who really impressed me on that list so far is Daniel, just because his plans have been so thought out, and he's been really involved in the projects that he wants to keep working on.
So as a base slate, what do you think this slate offers compared with their platforms, compared to like them as a people? What do they offer that makes them different?
Well, I'm a little biased, I'm on base, but I think what we offer is an outlet for progressive students. We are all based in our different communities. For example, our current based candidates, Daniel comes from low income background. Anastasia Retke comes from a sexual assault awareness background. Jose Meneses comes from an API and domestic violence awareness background.
What platform stands out the most from these candidates in terms of what is feasible and what can actually be implemented in a quick and efficient manner under their time as a senator?
I think Daniel's was the most detailed, so that's why I feel like it's the most likely to be implemented. And the other candidates, from what I've seen, I haven't seen as much detail yet, but I do recognize that they have had experience in Senate or have worked with senators, so I think that's very promising. I would just like to see more details from them to prove how they're going to be able to get those platforms done during their time.
So I actually was looking at Daniel Nagy's platforms as well, and I was really impressed too, because when I was thinking about EBT, I thought that was something that doesn't get touched on and is definitely not a conversation we have on campus. What places would you suggest that EBT, if I'm sure it would be limited to certain places, what do you think would be the most effective places to implement it?
Well, I think the first thing is we have to acknowledge our limitations as an association. So we are only responsible directly for the COHO. We oversee them. So I would really like to see us as an association accept EBT in our own dining services. That being said, we do have a lot of pull with administration once you become a senator, and I think that seeing it at the silo would be a great option as well.
You know, these platforms are really great, but some of them, they are repetitive, right? We've seen these types of platforms done. We've seen people try to implement them. What makes them different in the sense of who should they be collaborating with? What angle should they take when they're doing these types of platforms? How do you think it should be different if they're doing repetitive platforms?
Right now, even though people have run on that in the past, I think campus climate is constantly evolving and constantly changing. And the new diversity plan, not going to comment on that, but the new diversity plan set in rolling by administration is going to start being implemented in January of 2017. So I think that's an opportunity to pressure administration to do a lot of things involved with diversity.
Okay, cool. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing is that there's so many more students every year coming to campus that it's a real issue that we need to make sure we have enough resources to support them. So yes, there is a lot of mental health that these candidates are pushing for, and a lot of other things that we've seen before, but they're more necessary than ever because we have more students and we don't have the resources to take care of those aspects.
I know oftentimes senators, they just get so busy within their own unit that they sometimes forget to outreach. Are there places that you think would be great for them to outreach to?
I think that a lot of senators on the table already do that outreach to different communities, and I can speak for myself. So with mental health, we work with the Student Health and Wellness Center, we work with counseling services, we even work with the UC-wide mental health manager. I know that Annie plans to work with our care office, and I know Jose plans to do a lot of outreach to the CCC.
What advice would you give senators as they endeavor in not only the campaign, but also if they get Senate, what advice would you give them as people from ASUCD and, from Aggie?
Well, what I really want to continue seeing in more of the candidates is specificity in their plans. I think a lot of the platforms that they are running on are great platforms and things that really are important to campus. But I want to know the details of their plans, especially with the debate coming up. I think that's a great opportunity for them to share what they're planning to do and the specifics of how they're going to do that.
I completely agree. As a senator, I want to let you all know, all the candidates, the race is the easy part. But then once you become a senator, you're only accountable to yourself. And obviously that's not completely true. You're accountable to other members of the table, you're accountable to your commissions and your constituents, but really you have to be motivated in and of yourself. And if you don't want to complete your platforms, honestly, there's nothing stopping you, and I know a lot of people, this hasn't been addressed a lot, but people run for Senate for a line in their resume. And let me tell you, it is not worth it. 30 hours a week or 20 hours a week for $50 is not worth one line in your resume. There's more impressive things you can do. You need to want to serve the student body.
Based on individual candidates within BASED, what do you think of their own platforms and what do you think could be improved? So Sam, could you give us a little description of, Anastasia for starters?
So I think Anastasia has a lot of really great plans, and I think that she's worked on a lot of the stuff that she's already looking to implement. Specifically, I really liked her platform of raising sexual assault awareness within the Greek community, because that's a community that she is a part of and she is acknowledged is occasionally problematic. One of the things I might be critical of is administrative accountability. We've had a lot of discussions about that in Senate, and it's really difficult, and I think that she needs to be able to work with the Senate majority regardless of what slate that is, regardless of whether they're independent, in order to make this happen. This isn't going to happen from one person.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I think it's a really good topic that she brought up. It's a very prevalent concept right now, and it's something that we're seeing as a continuous problem on campus.
So let's go into Jose.
Two platforms that I really like that I think go hand in hand are API retention and domestic violence awareness. It's difficult to acknowledge this, but there are high rates of domestic violence in the API community, and the fact that he's willing to address that hard-hitting issue right off the bat gives me a lot of confidence in him. One thing that I could see being less feasible is perhaps the legal clinic. I know that he's been talking to a lot of different partners about that, and I know he's been in contact with the Pre-Law Association as well as the King Hall Law School. But at the same time, I think implementing clinics is really difficult, and I'm not sure that it goes super well with his other platforms as well.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Alyssa, so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate the input you gave us, and good luck to the new candidates who are going to be running.
So if you like this week's episode, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. And make sure to watch us every single week.
Woo!